Hello everyone, this is Michael. I'm on my rock and roll soapbox today, and I'm going to share with you a couple of websites that I want to give a shout out to because they have been invaluable resources to me for many years in terms of researching bands, albums, artists, the history of bands, things like that. These are user-generated websites, meaning the content is user-generated. And I just think they're both fabulous, and so I want to make a video so that I can give props to the people that run them and also maybe introduce some people to what I think is a really cool resource. So let's get to it. The very first one is ProgArchives.com. This is a website that's dedicated to progressive music. Now, that does not mean that the content is limited to only bands that play progressive music. There are a lot of artists in here that are not really prog artists, but maybe prog-related, or maybe they influence prog or whatever. But there are three different ways you can get a lot of information from these websites. I'm going to show you the number one, the primary way that I use it, and show kind of where I think the real most value comes from this website. First off, as you can see, this website has a very 2005 internet-looking vibe to it. So it's looked this way for as long as I can remember. Since I came to this website, the first day that I discovered it, it looked like this. If you're looking for a website that has the latest bells and whistles when it comes to internet user interfaces and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to find that here, which is just fine with me, because if it isn't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I see no problem with the way that the content is provided in this. It's simple, it's intuitive, it's informative, so I have no problem with this format. So again, let me talk about how the primary way that I use this website. So let's say that there's a band that I don't know much about and I want to learn about them. I can just put their name in here. So I'm going to put... Actually, we'll start with this band, Black Sabbath, okay? Black Sabbath is not a progressive band by just about any means. But you can see here, they've got a complete breakdown of everything Black Sabbath. And so this is the Black Sabbath page, and this is where I think most of the great stuff happens. At the top, you'll get a history of the band. Remember, this is all user-generated content, so it is the people like me who is a member of this website who write all these things up. Now, I've never written a band up like this. You probably have to be one of these so-called experts to be able to do that. But anybody can contribute album reviews. So you can see this is a fairly lengthy history of the band, written top of the band. Then you're going to get some links to like what's going on with the band in terms of tours or shows or things like that. Also the forum topics. There is a forum, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. There's always a few videos up at the top, YouTube videos, usually limited to like 2 or 3. But then here's where all the real good stuff happens, which is where the discography comes in. So all these discographies are laid out the same. First, they're broken into sections. So the first section are the full-length studio albums. I don't know why they call them top albums. I would call them studio albums, full-length studio albums. And they're always presented in chronological order. So the very first album will be the very first album by that band, in this case, Black Sabbath, released in 1970. And then you can see it's got all their studio albums. Then we get to the section that is the live album section. Then we get to the videos. Then we get to box sets and compilations. And finally, down at the bottom, you have official singles, EPs, fan club, and promo. So these are a lot of smaller things. Just a tremendous... And finally, at the bottom, there will usually be, I think, the 5 or 6 most recent reviews about this band that have been published to Prog Archives. So why do I like this stuff so much? Well, number one, it shows you like a complete discography. So it doesn't matter whether it's a live album or studio album or a box set or something like that. It'll be here because this is very comprehensive. Second, all these ratings are a very good barometer of the kind of quality and popularity of the releases that we're talking about. And it's a combination of things here. So first of all, let's take the very first Black Sabbath album. It's got a 4.23 ratings out of a total of 5. So 4.23 out of 5 is a very good rating. Below that, you'll see my own personal rating, which is that it's a 4-star album. So pretty close to the 4.23. What this is saying is that the collective judgment of the 927 Prog Archives contributors is that this Black Sabbath album, it rates at 4.23. So the combo of the high rating and the fact that a good nearly 1,000 people contributed to this rating mean that's a lot of people that came here and took time to say, hey, this album rates a 4.23. And so by doing that, I can look through the catalog and go, okay, 4.23, 4.32, 4.387, 4.2. Those are all, pretty high quality albums. So Sabotage, we get to Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, and the ratings are a little bit lower. And then we come back with Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Heaven and Hell is a rebound. Mob Rules is mostly a rebound. And then we get to, 2.8, 2.63. These are lower ratings. And so anybody who, if you came here not really knowing anything, you could actually just use these rankings and these discographies to get a general sense of, when a band, what a band put out, how many releases, what years they came out, what the opinion of the Prog Archives users is about that, what the opinion of the users is. And so that's a lot of great information when you're new to a band and trying to make sense of them. Now let's dig into this, because this doesn't end here. You take any one of these albums, let's say Volume 4, which might be my favorite Black Sabbath album. And if you click into it, you get a lot more information. You get the track listing and the times. You get, if there's been additional releases, meaning re-releases of albums, and with bonus songs, there'll be notes about that. On the 1986 Castle reissue, they had a bonus song, Children of the Grave, live. You get who the band members were that contributed to this album. Even if there's like side musicians or special guests or whatever you want to call them, they will be listed as well. You get information about the serial numbers and things like that. And as we go down, we then get, okay, there's 3.87 is the overall rating out of 663 that rated it. And then you get to see what percentage fell in each group. So quite a few thought it was 5-star. Quite a few, even more, 50% think it's a 4-star album, and then 17% 3-star, 3%, etc. Then below you get all the users' individual reviews. Now these in gray are the expert reviews, and by expert, these are just other contributors. These are contributors who have, through the sheer volume of contributions they've made to Prog Archives and also the quality of their contributions, has been deemed an expert. And I don't know exactly what the rules are behind that, but generally it's somebody who has a ton of reviews on here, and the reviews are at least rational and make sense. Sometimes you'll come across some reviews that are a little crazy. So you can see there's quite a few expert reviews on this particular release. And on the right side, we have reviews from somebody like me who's not an expert. I don't have a review on this album, but you can see there on the right. And if you want to see them in a more user-friendly format, you can just click on Show All Reviews. And here you go. Look at this. This is tons and tons of people who've taken time to come to this website and give their opinion on this, which means that collectively what you have are dozens and dozens, if not 100+ reviews by very passionate people who really care about this music. And that's what comes through this website in spades, is the fact that I love music. I'm very passionate about music. I love prog music. I'm passionate about prog music. All these people who came and contributed these reviews are people like me. They love the music and they're passionate enough about it to come to this website and contribute their opinions, their thoughts. And collectively, I just feel like this is just a tremendous, tremendous resource. Whenever I'm trying to research a band or want to know about a particular release or something like that, this is the first place I come. And even if it's for a band that isn't a prog band, I'll come here and hope that they're here because this is such a great website. So I'm disappointed, like when I come and I look, let's see, I think Blue Oyster Cult is not here. Even that's a band that I think would be here. You can see I've looked for them on this website before. And, oh, they are here. Whew. Okay, there's Blue Oyster Cult. So that's easy as it is, so I was wrong about that. Not only is Blue Oyster Cult here, but I've rated all their albums here. Alright, so that is, for me, these discographies and the individual album pages with all the reviews and the rankings and everything. That is, to me, the real meat of this website and why I come here so often and utilize it at least several times a week, I'd say. Two other areas that are very useful that I don't use as much but are still useful. One is the prog rock guides, and if we go here, you see a very long list of links. These are all generally forum posts, but you can also see that this goes on and you can read all the individual parts if you want, but they're all linked up at the top. I think the most interesting area to me is the ProgArchives.com subgenres of progressive rock music. And here you can see they have about, 18 or 20 subgenres. So prog folk, prog-related, progressive metal, proto-prog. Probably I am most fanatical about heavy prog. And if I come here, it'll give you basically a breakdown about what heavy prog is and where it comes from and who the key bands are. But probably most important is it's all heavy prog artist list. So if we come here, we can see these are the albums that are the top ranked heavy prog top albums. And these are all bands that I love. Rush and Porcupine Tree. I'm not sure that Mars Volta is one of my favorite bands, but you can get, if you wanted to learn about heavy prog and who the key players are and what are the seminal albums that make up that subgenre of the progressive music genre, good place to start. So another area are these prog rock guides that are very useful, especially for people just starting out on researching or exploring progressive music. And finally, the third area are the forums. And again, very 2005 forum interface, and it works just fine. It really does. They've got, multiple sub forums. So you go to Prog New Music Lounge, and then you have a bunch of posts. And some of these are kind of what I'd call evergreen posts. So look at this, the free legal MP3 downloads of prog music. You can see there's the first time this was posted was back in 2006. I came to this website, I feel like about 2010, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe it started in 2002, and I believe the guy who's the primary person who runs it is a guy named Max. I'm not 100% sure of all that stuff. But if you click on the link, then you'll get a whole bunch of new information, etc., etc., and then all the responses to it. It works just like any forum you've ever seen or been a part of. When I came, I signed up, I've contributed posts, I've responded to people. It's just a third leg on the stool that supports the ProgArchives.com utility, in my opinion. So three great ways to learn about music: the discographies, the detailed album rankings, the forum, and then the prog guides. I do want to make one last point here, which is that this banner up at the top is just great artwork, in my opinion. One more? Yeah, and maybe one less. Nah, that's it. That captures almost everything. And these are all iconic images from mostly progressive album covers. I'm going to go through each one and name all the ones that I know, and maybe other people can help me with the ones that I don't recognize. I do not know what this is up here. I think it might be a pig that might be from Pink Floyd's Animals cover, but I can't really make it out, so I'm not 100% sure. I do know this is the guy from Jethro Tull's Aqualung. This is the creature from Genesis Foxtrot that's on the cover of that album. The tree in the back here with the brainy look. I'm pretty sure that's from a Roger Dean cover, who's famous for all his Yes covers, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is the camel from obviously any Camel albums, and we have the Gentle Giant. I do not know what this symbol is, and I'm really curious because it's really cool because it combines the sun and the moon into one kind of thing, and it looks really cool, but I don't know what it comes from. This is a gentleman on the cover of Kansas Left Overture, I believe. Then we have Starman from Rush 2112. The Shaking Hands guys, one of them on fire from Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. These are definitely the brains from Rush Hemispheres. I think this tree on the thing is part of that cover as well, but I'm not 100% sure. Then we have the globe from Fragile, I believe, by Yes. Then we got two images I do not recognize, especially the one with the monkey-looking guy. Is he playing a drum? Or I can't tell what's going on there. Then this tree, again, it's kind of spooky looking. I think that's a tree, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's from. That is the iconic Queensryche logo that shows up on so many of their covers. This is the gal from the Porcupine Tree album, Signify. This is the young girl on Dream Theater's second album, Images and Words. I don't know where this stuff comes from. It looks like more Roger Dean Yes stuff. I don't know who these guys are either. That looks like the Gentle Giant. Again, that is definitely from a Roger Dean Yes thing. This is the young boy from Marillion's Misplaced Childhood. These up here, I don't know. This is definitely from King Crimson's debut release. And that looks like these bottom three things. I don't know what those are, where they're from. But my point is that I love that image because it captures so much iconic bands, iconic imagery that the prog world is kind of known for. And I think they captured that really well in that visual. So props to them. Like I said, this is all user generated. This is not a commercial site. They don't have ads, at least not many. So if you do come here and find a lot of use for this site, please donate to them. They always have the donate option up above the top. That enables them to continue to provide this great, tremendous resource without having to resort to ads and stuff. All right, so before I move on to the second and third websites, I want to ask you guys, if you're watching this video and you like it, please hit the like button below, subscribe so that you can keep up with everything that the Rock and Roll Soapbox is doing and get notifications turned on so you'll know the next time I'm on my Rock and Roll Soapbox. All right. The second and third sites I'm going to show you are run by the same gentleman, and they operate in identical ways. They just cover different genres of music. So I'm not going to go through them in as much detail because we've already kind of shown how each one works. But they basically cover different types of music. So we have the metalmusicarchives.com right here. And as you can guess, this is dedicated to heavy metal. Let's pull something up. So like, we looked at Blue Oyster Cult a minute ago. Now I'm pointing this out just to show you how they're slightly different, okay? Blue Oyster Cult. So when we come here, we see, that's big. We see, for instance, their first album ranks at 3.42 and has 202 ratings. Now let's go to the Metal Music Archives. Metal Music Archives, I only discovered it within the last year. I didn't even know that it existed, even though it's run by the same people that do ProgArchives.com. But let me just point this out. So we go to there's a Blue Oyster Cult page on the Heavy Metal Archive site too. But notice this, this first album has a 3.98 versus 3.42. So it's about a half point higher, which kind of makes sense because Blue Oyster Cult is not really a prog band. They are more of a heavy metal band, even though a lot of people would say they're not a heavy metal band either. But they're certainly more of a heavy metal band than they are a prog band. So the idea that the prog crowd would think a little bit less of this album than the metal crowd is understandable. But what I really want to point out is this Prog Archives ranking is based on 202 users, whereas in Blue Oyster Cult, on the Metal Archives site, it's based on only 42 ratings. And that's the primary difference between these two beyond what genres of music they're covering is Prog Archives has been around longer, has a higher critical mass of users than the Metal Archives site. And so the rankings that you get on Metal Archives usually are by a smaller number of contributors than what we see on ProgArchives.com. That doesn't make the ratings less useful. I always thought that, like, if you've got at least, say, I don't know, 50 ratings, 40, 50 ratings, that you've got a pretty good critical mass. But you can see some of these have only 17, 14, 5. By the way, I own this album, The Symbol Range. You can see I gave it a 4-star rating. Really, really great return to form by Blue Oyster Cult in 2020. I did a video on one of the songs from this. Great song. Or great album. Okay, so that's really it. Otherwise, this works exactly the same. You can type in a band and get the complete discography broken down by studio albums, live albums, videos, compilations, etc. You have a forum, just like we do on the Prog Archives site. So you can come here and contribute and join part of the conversation. And it has metal music guides. These are actually really cool for me because I don't know metal that well. So, like, let's get deathcore. I have no idea what deathcore is. So if I click here, I get, a brief explanation. And I haven't seen this full subgenre. Okay, no. Then we go to the deathcore page, and here it kind of like we saw when we looked at heavy prog on the prog site. You get a brief explanation, and then you get the top albums in this genre of metal. I have not heard of Eclipse or any of these bands, to be fair. I'm not a huge heavy metal fan. I was in the 80s. I liked heavy metal in the 80s. Ever since they went to the growling lyrics, I've had a hard time with it. All right, so the second, ProgArchives.com, boom. MetalMusicArchives.com, number 2. And then JazzMusicArchives.com, third site. Also run by the same guy who runs Prog Archives. So massive shout out to, and it's not just one guy. I know that Max seems to kind of be the focal point of everything, but there are a ton of people that contribute by not only just contributing reviews and ratings, but moderators who moderate the forums and review the posts to make sure that they're good. There's just a ton of people that contribute to these sites, so shout out to all of them because I just think all 3 websites are great. Jazz Music Archives is really good. Like, if Miles Davis is a good example. I would not know where to start with Miles Davis when it comes to his catalog. The guy has, like, I bet he has more than 100 studio albums. I just feel like that. I could be wrong. One thing I will say about the Jazz site is that the critical mass of users is not quite there. Frequently, you'll find albums that have only a handful of reviews. It is useful, like this. We got the Miles Davis discography right here. So, like, these are all the studio albums, right? And you can see there's often fewer than 5 ratings. 1, 2, 1s and 2s don't show up a lot. Still very useful in that there's a complete list of all the albums that exist here from Miles Davis. And I'm sure that as we get into some of his more well-known albums, you're going to get more ratings. So Milestones has 4 ratings. This one has 8. Where's Blue? Bitches Brew has nearly 100 in a sign. So when he gets to his more commercially well-known albums, you're getting more ratings because more people own them and more people can review them. All right, so I've gone on way too long. I was trying to make this like a 10-minute video. Anyway, I love these sites. I think they're tremendous. I want to give a shout out to the folks that operate them and support them and moderate them, and also to everybody that contributes to them, because without the contributors, including people like me, these sites don't exist. But they are a tremendous gathering place for people who are passionate about progressive music, metal music, and jazz music. And if you combine all 3 of those, you've covered a very, very large segment of the music listening universe, if you will. So anyway, appreciate you watching all the way. I love you guys, and I'm out.